to Leading Questions. I'm Kayla Theeuwen.
I'm Sydorenko.
And I'm Megan Mah, and we're lawyers at WeirFoulds. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Leading Questions is a web series where we answer a variety of burning questions about law, business development, and professional development in 15 minutes or less, but sometimes a little bit more. What can I say? We can be chatty.
And as young professionals, we've got lots of questions about financial planning. And these uncertain economic times that we're living in right now are not making it any easier for us to answer them. So if you guys are anything like me, you don't have a clue where to begin when it comes to planning your financial future.
The good news is that today's episode features Akilah Allen-Silverstein, a certified financial advisor with Mandeville Private Client, and she's here to answer important questions related to planning your financial future. Hey, Akilah.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
So the first question we had for you, Akilah, is, there's so much conflicting information on how the market's trending right now. We're hearing so much from so many different sources. So is now a good time to keep any disposable income in savings or to invest?
So what I will say is, honestly, no matter the time, is you should have at least 3 to 6 months income or expenses in cash as an emergency fund. And it's really important to establish that. So in the event of, say, job loss, an illness or a repair bill of your car or your home, you're not now dipping into using a credit card, or it's, you have enough to cushion that and to be able to pay for that without it really impacting your finances.
And those unexpected incidents also include a pandemic, I'm guessing?
Yes. I don't think any of us were planning for a pandemic, but that is exactly a situation where, things may be a little bit more precarious. But besides having that 3 to 6 months emergency fund, yes, you should still be investing. You should still be thinking long-term about how to build wealth. There's going to be volatility in the markets for a good while as, the impacts of the pandemic continue to plague us. But there's still opportunities. There's industries and companies that have made more money than they did before during this pandemic. We're on Zoom right now, right? Before that, Zoom was, a company that maybe we'd use once or twice. And now we're using it on a day-to-day basis. So I say that to say there's opportunities in the market. And what you have to think about when it comes to investing now is companies that are quality picks. So do they have retained earnings? Do they have enough to get through another year or two of maybe not their best earning years? What does their balance sheet look like? What is their management team like? And, can you comfortably buy that company and hold it for the next 10 years? Are they in a long-term growth industry? So that's more about being more picky with where you put your money, but you should definitely still be thinking that there's opportunity to build wealth.
But what about for someone who's maybe younger and is thinking a little more long-term? Would that same advice apply?
Yes, honestly, it's easier for me to say that to a younger investor or somebody who has 15 to 20 years out before retirement. So I say that because while the market's going up and down and there's the volatility, and you need to be comfortable with that, but understand that you have the time horizon to ride out the ups and downs and still be in a very good position by the time you get to a longer term goal such as retirement. You have extra time to experience the compound growth and the benefits of that. So yes, you should be still investing no matter your age. And as long as you have the disposable income to start, now's the time.
So we've also heard a lot about interest rates in the news lately, and, they're significantly decreasing. So given the decrease, should I be paying instead?
So there's always going to be conflicting goals and different goals, right? Paying down debt is always a goal, investing is a goal, buying a home. What I will say is student loans are generally a fixed rate product, but if you're in a variable rate product, you've seen a decrease in your interest rates. But to continue to pay that down and not at the detriment of other goals, I would never say rush to pay it down, is you continue with the same payment schedule. So more is now going towards the principal and it's being paid down. But on the other side, if you look at, okay, maybe your interest rate's between 2 to 5, but in the market, you can earn 6 to 8%. The math is pretty simple, right? You want to be getting that opportunity and not missing out because you're rushing to pay down your student debt. So at the detriment of other goals, right? Even if it means 5 more years that you're able to invest and again, see that compound growth over time, you want to take that opportunity. If you wait until you're finished paying all debt and now start to invest, think of the amount of money you're now going to have to put aside monthly. It may not be feasible to actually get you where you want to go long term. So trying to work within, again, your boundaries, obviously your budget, to do different goals at the same time is generally what I advise.
Awesome. That's some good quality tips there. So Akilah, true story, I'm thinking of buying my first home. Do you have any tips for me, and where should I start?
Fair enough. I think most of us are in Toronto, and it can seem like an uphill battle. Thinking of buying a home is, prices are very expensive. But what I will say is, again, I'm a financial planner, so I work within the realm of having a plan towards any goal. So buying a home, what price range would be the first? Like, what price range are you comfortable having? Next would obviously be checking your credit and getting a sense of where you stand and what lenders see you like, what they see you as your character. Are they willing to lend to you? And then it's what down payment, when you've, figured out what price range, now what down payment do you need to work towards, right? Whether it's yourself or it's you and a partner coming together, what do you guys jointly need to save? So once you have that goal in mind, maybe you can approach a bank or your lender or a mortgage broker, get a pre-approval. So get a sense of what anybody's even willing to lend you, what down payment you need to come up with, and then work backwards. So figure out what you need to save on a biweekly, monthly, annual basis to get to that goal. So if you said in 3 years, I want to buy that house, what am I saving monthly? And then automate those savings. So if you're going to be doing that, say you get paid on the 1st and the 16th, the same day that money comes into your bank account, it needs to go into that savings vehicle. You don't wait until the end of the month to say, oh, this is my home savings goal, right? Be disciplined about it and have that approach. And that gets you where you want to go. And once you have that down payment, then you start approaching, a mortgage broker, or you start approaching a real estate agent, obviously, to kind of help you figure out where you want to buy.
Got it. Yeah, good point. Because if I waited until the end of the month, I probably wouldn't have anything to put away. Do you have any? Yeah. Do you have any tips on like the types of accounts that I could use to save money?
So if we're still in the realm of talking about for your home, a tax-free savings account, because you can put money in, you can take it out with very little penalty or anything along those lines. That would be my first, but also a high interest savings account, because I couldn't really advise you to put it into any other investment in that short 3-year time horizon. It would be too risky. So for me, it would be putting it into something where you can just save and maybe get a little interest, but generally mostly cash. Also, if you do have an RRSP, a registered retirement savings plan, possibly through work or when you put your bonuses in annually, you are allowed to withdraw $35,000 each, if you are buying with a partner, from that account using a program called the Home Buyers Plan. And that will allow you to have a bit more money to put towards your first home.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Home Buyers Plan. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? That's the first time I've heard about it.
Sure. So that's a program, generally the RRSP, you put money into, you get a tax refund, and then it's allowed to stay in that account, grow deferred, no tax, but when you pull it out, it's taxable. So this is a program that allows you, as a first-time home buyer, you need to be eligible for that, to pull out $35,000. Again, if you're a partner, about $70,000 between both of you. There's no penalty when you take it out, and it's not added to your income, which is generally then you now have to repay the taxes. So this program allows you to do that and put it up to any upfront cost that you incur buying your first home. And then you have a 2-year grace period where you get used to the expenses of owning your own home now. And then over 15 years, they do require you to put that money back, again, to yourself. This is your retirement plan, but you need to put it back into that RRSP. And that's generally the Home Buyers Plan. So it's a great way to have some extra savings that maybe you've been saving for a while and use it towards your first home.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about lenders real quick. Who should I go to? Do I just, make a dash for the big 5, or is there someone else I can check out?
So what I would actually say is if you either, if you're working with a financial planner or somebody you trust, somebody who just bought a home, I would actually ask them for a referral to a mortgage broker. And why I say this is because they have relationships with the big five and plus, plus, plus. So you can, one-stop shop, go to this broker if you trust them, you're good with them. And you can give them your information and they actually do the work. They shop around what mortgage rates, what features, and will help, explain to you exactly what you're getting into in that mortgage contract. So I'd actually say that's a better approach. You guys are busy lawyers, right? You might not have time to shop around and you may end up just going with your lender, which your bank that you go to all the time and using them as your lender versus having somebody shop it around for you and get you the best product on the market.
That makes sense. Super helpful. Okay, next question. We're living in this pandemic. We have no idea when this is going to be over. Is there such a thing as like a safe or pandemic-proof investment that people who are new to investments can start to explore?
So what I will say is honestly, no investment comes without some level of risk. Even sitting in cash is a risk of inflation, eating away your purchasing power over time. But obviously, there is a concern that some industries, some companies may not survive this pandemic and this shutdown. And we need to be aware of that. And I think, trying to decipher between the winners and the losers as a novice investor would probably be pretty difficult. So what I will say is diversify. Okay. So we're thinking, when we say diversify in investments, we're thinking different geographic sectors, right? Whether it's Canada, the US, Europe, emerging markets. And then different industries, different sectors, right? Tech, healthcare. So that's how you kind of balance out the risk because we're not betting on one company or one country or one region. So diversifying across those areas, using ETFs, generally exchange traded funds, would be a good starting point because this allows you to buy a broad index. So let's take the S&P 500. It would give you an entry point into the 500 US companies that are publicly listed.
Okay, whoa, Akilah, hang on a second. You had me at ETF. What is that?
Okay, so an ETF is an exchange traded fund. So it is a form of passive investing. So I think when we think investing, generally you think of somebody behind a desk, just like day trading and trading the stocks daily and trying to do a pick. ETFs, on the other side, were created with the idea that what if we just passively buy all the companies that are listed, all 500 on the S&P, and in the same market cap as the way they're represented. And then we're just going to ride it out. We're going to ride the ups and downs, and we're okay with that if we're long-term investors. So, and at a very low cost, because again, there's not really anybody managing behind the scenes. So comparatively to a mutual fund, they're a lot lower cost. So as a young investor coming in and a novice investor, this is a good starting point to get some areas of your portfolio. There are going to be areas where you want an active manager, namely generally emerging markets or bond markets, things where it's a little bit more time consuming and difficult. And then at Mandeville, our mission generally is to provide clients access to private and alternative investments. And this provides something that's a real diversifier because it's not publicly traded, right? It gives you access to areas like real estate, venture capital, infrastructure. And this adds something to your portfolio that doesn't fluctuate and doesn't correlate with public markets. So if you're worried and you're thinking about risk and you're worried about seeing your portfolio go down or up and down 20% in a day, including some public and alternative options would really help smooth out the returns. And historically, the returns for private and alternatives are comparable to the public markets.
Okay, I mean, helped a little bit, but I'm probably going to have to do some Googling after we're done here. Okay, so just moving on to our last question, something a little bit more general. How much of my income should I be setting aside to invest? Like, is there a rule that should be followed?
I like to stray away from this question sometimes, but for me in my practice, there's no magic percentage that I could tell you, save this amount and that will get you where you want to go. And I bring that back to having a plan and asking, what do you want in retirement? What do you envision as a lifestyle? Do you want to travel? Do you want to buy a small cottage and live up north? Do you want to go back to another country? So those will help me determine, you determine, within what income level will you need. So I say that to say, like, if we set that goal and we set that income level or that lump sum amount we're going to need to provide whatever income level we want to have, then we work backwards again. So what do we need to be saving on a biweekly, monthly, or annual basis? What rate of return is required to help us grow and get to that magic number? We need to include any pension plans you may have, any CPP, Canada Pension Plan, old age security, other sources of income. Maybe you had a rental property. So include all of that and get to that number. And then what else we need to be doing in terms of investments over the next 20 years to get you to that point? That's how you work. And then whatever percentage of your income that works out to, that's your magic number as what you need to be saving.
Okay, so that 50, 20, 30, whatever rule that we've heard about, let's not, be locked into that. It's a little bit more personal and personalized, I guess.
Yes, financial planning is not one size fits all.
Okay, that makes sense. So what about inflation? Is that something that we should be thinking about now?
Yes. So again, if we, worked out, okay, say we make 120 now, and we've worked out, based on what we want in retirement, 100,000 would be a good income level. So if we work that out, we know what we need today, right? But that's today's dollars. So if we're thinking, let's go over an example where, we've worked out 90,000 is what we need. If we were to say take a 2% inflation target and map that out over 20 years, we actually need $133,375 a year, right? So we have to always factor that in because it increased from 90 to 133. And if we got to retirement and we were only able to draw 90, we'd probably be behind in the expenses and the lifestyle that we envision for ourselves. So that always needs to be taken into consideration. Also medical expenses, once we're really planning long-term, we have to bear in mind that we may need help at some point and it may cost a lot of money.
Lots to think about.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Akilah. This was incredibly helpful, and I definitely learned a few new things that I'm going to apply, and I'm going to come see you for advice. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have questions on topics that you'd like us to address in future episodes, please email us at leadingquestions@weirfolds.com. See you next time.